Hey people of the VC, it's Andy Cloudy Milder. Um, this video, as you can tell by the title, I'm going to be showing a number of Japanese metal bands and records that I've picked up over the last few months. This wasn't really by design. I looked through my record inbox and noticed that I'd slowly but surely picked up a handful, just five, and I thought it'd be cool to put them together in a single video and tell you a little bit about them. Right, so let's just jump into it. So the first one I've got to show is a band called Bow Wow. This is from 1983. It's a live album called Holy Expedition. Here we go. And it is on the Heavy Metal Worldwide label. I do love this label. Very cool label. So yeah, Bow Wow. So this is a band that have been around since the mid 70s. They released their first album in 1976. They toured when Aerosmith and Kiss toured Japan. They opened up for them. This is the earliest album that I have of theirs. So say it's 1983, and it's recorded live at the Marquee Club in London. It's very, very quite raw. A lot of high energy tracks on it. Mainly features tracks from their previous two albums, which was got this written down, Asian Volcano, and which is the this tour, the album that they were touring off the back of for here, and Warning from Stardust from 1982. With the final track on here is called The Theme of Bow Wow. And that was on their debut album, and that's a really sort of punky sounding song. It actually reminds me of a faster version of Mamakin by Aerosmith. This was the last album though that they released under the name Bow Wow. They moved to England and changed their name to Vow Wow in 1984, only to change it back again in 1990. I'm not 100% sure why they changed their name, but I'm guessing it's because in the early 80s there was a band that Malcolm McLaren put together called Bow Wow Wow, which was kind of a new wave band created from the bones of Adam and the Ants first band. Might have heard their song C30, C60, C90. Check that one out on YouTube. It's quite catchy. But there's at the end of this, there's a great piece of guitar wankery. Fantastic solo, really over indulgent and over the top. And I'm going to butcher his name now, but the guitarist is Kyoji Yamamoto. I don't mind guitar solos on live albums. In fact, I kind of expect them on from an 80s band, but you don't always get them on a live album. I do draw the line at bass solos and drum solos though. I find them a bit boring on a live album, but this is a cracking live album. Bow Wow. You can check out that wig. Awesome stuff. Okay, so as I said, they changed their name in when they moved to England and became Vow Wow. So let's fast forward 6 years, and I have a copy of Helter Skelter by Vow Wow. And this is a very different sound from their early years. They've had a few lineup changes by now. They're a 5-piece as opposed to being a 4-piece. You can see the difference in image as well. Obviously, this is earlier 80s, and then we've got slightly. They've had a bath and upgraded their clothes a bit. They're looking a little bit more like a late 80s rock band. Do I prefer the earlier raw sound? Yeah, but for what this is, I still really like it. And yes, there is a cover of Helter Skelter, which must be one of the most covered songs in metal. I think it's a bit lame. To call your album after a cover version, but there we go. This one comes with Inner with lyrics. So Bow Wow, Vow Wow are certainly by this stage. I can't remember if earlier on they sang in English, but this album is certainly all in English, and it's on the Arista label. Some quite cheesy tracks on here, cheesy commercial metal numbers. Rock Me Now, Turn on the Night. They're pretty cheesy, but I kind of like that one. Spellbound is probably the best song on here for me. Apparently this album features re-recordings of songs that were mostly on the previous album, Vibe. I don't know why they did that. Maybe it's because, I mean, the previous album I think was on a Japanese label. Then they got obviously picked up on a Western label, and this was to be their last European label release. So it was kind of seems like it was over for them at this stage, for this part of their career. Those are the two I have from Bow Wow and Bow Wow Wow and Vow Wow. Bit of a tongue twister. Next up is a band called, I've got a couple of albums from this band, Earthshaker. First one being Fugitive. This is actually a Japanese release on Nexus label. It says it's got a price tag of £15 up here, but I picked this up on eBay. I was looking for the Music for Nations release of this one, but when I saw this one, I put in a cheeky minimum bid of £1 and ended up winning it, and it's in superb condition. It does have a corner cut off the end, but has the obi strip and a nice inner sleeve, all in Japanese. Typical of a Japanese release, so all the lyrics as well are in Japanese, so I've had a lot of fun singing along to those. Pictures of the band at the back. So this is on the Nexus label, not a very exciting label there. Yeah, so this is another band that formed in the 70s, late 70s this time. And apparently they're named after the track on Y&T's debut album, but I'm not really that familiar with Y&T, so it doesn't really mean a lot to me. But this is their third studio album. Unlike Bow Wow, the lyrics are in Japanese, as I've said. This is more hard rock than metal to me. The songs are quite catchy, and I found myself kind of singing along, but God only knows what I'm actually singing. Though some of the choruses are actually in English, which is a bit weird, even though the verses are all in Japanese. Top tracks on here. I don't know why I'm looking at the back because it's in Japanese. I'll just write these down. Young Girls, Love, Destiny, and More, killer tracks, and More is probably the heaviest track on the record. Drive Me Crazy is like a pure rock and roll, right down to the clicking fingers on it. The title track as well is a bit theatrical, but probably one of the heaviest tracks on the album in places. So this is Earthshaker Fugitive. So I've got a couple of Earthshaker albums. Next one, this is from 1984, and this one is on the Music for Nations label. Songs titles are a mixture of Japanese and English on here. Great guitars, love the sound of this album. A mix of sort of hard rock and commercial metal. Midnight Flight is did I say Midnight Force? Midnight Flight. Midnight Flight is the title track is really enjoyable, and Family, the last track on side one, is the most cheesiest, and you have to get a little bit of cheese with Japanese metal. And the last one I have for you this time around, I didn't show you the record, so this is standard Music for Nations label for Midnight Flight. The last one I have is also on Music for Nations, and this is probably the most well-known of the Japanese bands from the 80s, and they're the closest to sort of the classic US more commercial heavy metal sound. And their breakthrough, and many Japanese bands' breakthrough, is thanks to this album. So this is Loudness, Thunder in the East. This is 1985. So this is 1985 for the UK release. I'm not sure if the original, I think it was on Atco in the States. So they were the first big Japanese band to make a breakthrough. This is actually their fifth studio album, and it was released following the band, a bit like Earthshaker. They relocated, but Loudness relocated to the US, and this is their first English language release, and it kind of catapulted them and gave them the commercial success, and opened up the door for other Japanese bands to break through to the Western music scene as well. Great live shot. So this is Minoru Nihara. Again, apologies if I butchered that one. He actually used to be in Earthshaker early on, I think before they released any records. We've got guitarist Akira Takasaki, I'm giving up there. Munitaku Higuchi and Masayoshi Yamashita. I gave it a go, but great look. I love that look for the band from sort of mid-80s. Like Hell, second track on side one, probably my favourite on here, and reminds me a little bit of sort of 80s style Judas Priest from sort of Defenders of the Faith, Ram It Down, Turbo type era. Yeah, so this is a killer album. And they went on, and they probably released probably about another 15 records after this, and I think they're still together as well. So there you have it. That's 5 Japanese J-metal records that have come into my collection over the last few months. Let me know what you think of these. Click that subscribe button over there if you haven't already and you want to see more of this nonsense, and check me out on Facebook and Instagram if you want to see what I'm spinning, when I'm spinning it, and what's coming in through the door before I get to show it on my channel here. I will be back with another video pretty soon, I guess. Thanks for watching. Take care.